Hi friends, how are we today? My name is Nora Hayes. I'm back at another video for you guys. I'm actually super excited because I'm actually getting more confident with sitting down in front of a camera and talking, not feeling as awkward. Oh, you can't really see them today. Today I switched out my little friends. I have Carl Cheeseburger today, and I have Sabrina the Caticorn. Look at her little hair. I just love them both so much. This was my Squishmallow yesterday, so they're just gonna hang out. Well, we can see Carl just a little bit. He's a little bit cattywampus, but that sort of fits the mood. And yes, I'm in an NSYNC shirt. Yes, my roots need done. What else is new? So, like I said, I'm super excited to be talking with you guys, and today I'm going to be covering another series in my channel, but this time I actually watched the adaptation first, and then I read the book. My dog is barking, so you might hear that a few times. Not much I could do about it. He has a mind of its own. He's still a little puppy. He's very sassy. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about 13 Reasons Why. Like I sort of said, I actually watched the show first and then I read the book. I'm going to be 1000% honest with you guys in it that I watched the show back whenever it came out. I was a senior in high school, so 2017. I just now graduated high school. It's 2021. That was really the last time I watched the show from start to finish, at least season 1. I tried to rewatch it the summer of 2018, and for whatever reason it's like my TV show to watch during finals weeks, but I've never been able to start it from beginning to end again after that little first watch, and then sort of have really bad memories that now come along with The Night We Met by Lord Huron. It's this whole messy thing, so my sort of basis is going to be off of what I remember from watching the TV show. I wasn't about to trigger myself again to do this video for you guys, which also leads into my next point, which is I am going to be covering some triggering topics in this video. I am going to be talking about suicide, self-harm, and sexual assault, and if those are things that trigger you, that bring up bad feelings, make you really upset, then I suggest you sort of click off of this video. I am going to leave a few resources in the links below if you feel like you need help. I am also readily available for anybody that needs to talk about anything. I may not be an expert. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I definitely am here to talk if you need it. Otherwise, if it's going to bring bad feelings, I would feel really bad if I triggered somebody or if I caused anybody to sort of relapse or to be sent into a darkened spiral. So if you think that these topics sort of relate to you in any way or are going to affect you in any way, then I suggest clicking off. I don't have too many videos yet, or I'd say to go watch some of my other videos. I mean, you can go watch those videos, but you know what I mean. And I really do hope that you get the help that you need if that all applies to you. Here, literally 3 minutes in, and I've already lost my voice. Already breaking into a Kool-Aid jammer. I will say this is like the strawberry kiwi flavor. Not a fan, but it's been what's been in my room for forever, so that's what my beverage of choice is today. So I do want to start off this video by saying, or this part of the video, I did watch the TV show sort of knowing what it was about. That being said, I am sort of going to be a little bit triggering right off the bat. Hadn't read the book, didn't really know what the book entailed, and that being said, I thought that Hannah's suicide that happens at the end of season 1 is how it went in the books, and knowing now that in the books all she did was overdose on some pills, I don't mean to say that's all she did, but you guys know what I mean. I do have a lot of grievances with how unnecessarily triggering the show went to be, and I don't know if it was just all about shock factor or what it necessarily was or why they went with that route. I don't know if it was to sort of spread a message that would hit a lot harder or what the intentions were, but that is a very intense grievance that I have with that show. Now, having listened to the book all the way through, to sort of see oh, they just did that for some kind of really twisted shock value that doesn't really sit well with me, and I'm going to start that off right off the bat. So like I said, I watched this show my senior year of high school, and I guess you could say at that point I was going through a really rough patch. You know, I was sort of an outcast. I had about 2 friends. That's not like an over exaggeration. And also not me trying to sound like a main character. I was actually really content with sort of being an outcast and not really having any friends. Like, I wasn't relentlessly like bullied. You know, people liked me. It was just that I didn't relate with a lot of people. So that being said, I could relate to the show a little bit. I do believe that the cast was absolutely stellar. Like, I really liked the cast a lot. There really wasn't a character that I didn't believe or didn't think was a good fit. Like, they all bled into their characters super well. They did seem very realistically played. They were played well. It was very easy to believe and see all of these kids as high schoolers. So that was a really good point. And also the soundtrack to this show, like, really made it for me, I think. The moment that I got to hear Joy Division, which is my, like, second favorite band ever, Joy Division's Love Will Tear Us Apart is one of my all-time favorite songs ever. So to hear that in the show, and then to hear The Cure, who is my third favorite band ever, and to hear The Smiths, who's also up there, even though Morrissey's an asshole, if you didn't know. So the soundtrack was really, really good, and I feel like it really embodied the show very well, the show's like personality or the genre of the show, because I really found a lot of songs that I liked. Like, I really liked 1,000 Times, Young and Unafraid were some of my favorites. So I definitely really enjoyed the soundtrack and really enjoyed it in that way. Sort of going back to like a high school me and that last episode, I can very easily say that I have never been one to self-harm in the past, never really had thoughts of it, but that last episode was extremely, extremely, extremely triggering for me, and I am going to say that in the video. This is sort of the last point that I'm gonna talk about the self-harm aspect of it, or at least that last episode was very triggering, and I don't think I would ever watch it again. And I know that there was talk, or that they sort of erased that whole part from the episode, which I think was really, really good. Was a good move, and I'm glad that it's no longer out there to trigger anybody else. Sort of break down the character of Hannah Baker. I think a lot of people think she's really overdramatic, but I think Katherine Langford did a really good job at portraying her in the show. I never really once saw her as like a bitchy character. I saw her as very sarcastic, and sort of saw her more as a character that had a lot of really bad things happen to her, one after the other, and it sort of builds up. And I don't see her as over dramatic, and I think a lot of people do, but I also think it ultimately comes down to her not having the resources or the capabilities to sort of cope and talk about her issues. Instead, it was just a lot of shitty things happening, one after another, all stacking up. She wasn't talking about it, and then she just broke down in a very tragic way. That being said, I don't think that it was right of her to drag Clay into all of this. Don't think it was right of her to sort of make him listen through all of these like tapes, which I know is sort of like a meme now. And I also don't like the way that the show like led us all to believe, for those of us that hadn't read the book, to believe that Clay was this real like shitty person, and that's why he was on the tapes. And to even have a lot of the other characters in the show being like, oh well, you're on the tapes too, and like you suck, essentially. I don't really remember if that was what they said, but I do remember a specific like scene, I don't know who it was with them like saying to Clay like, oh, you think like you're so good, but like you were on the tapes too. I don't know, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I don't like the way that the show did that and made Clay out to be this really not really intensely bullied, but they did make it out to be like he was gonna be this horrible like villain in her tapes and like her breaking point. Like I said, I really liked the characters. To sort of pick out my favorite character in the whole show, I would definitely say that Tony is my favorite. and to sort of loop back into people that I don't think were rightfully judged by Hannah. Zach was definitely one of them, and Clay, obviously. And I do feel bad that they all sort of got pulled into this very toxic circle with people that were legitimately very shitty people. And I do think that the characters all did a really good job at portraying shitty characters. You know, the guy that played Bryce, I'm so sorry, I don't really know their names very well. The guy that played Bryce really made you hate him a lot. Made you really think that this guy was like a scumbag. And it is actually almost shitty in the way that he did such a good job at portraying it, that the actor actually got a lot of hate, and a lot of people did not like him or the actor, which I think is just a testament of good acting, personally. I think the show really did do a good job at showing all of the layers of these traumas, and sort of a way of showing how everybody has their own shit going on, and a way of seeing, yes, they're shitty people, but sort of seeing each tape like broken down, you know, and getting to see the situations play out, as opposed to Hannah just sort of telling you about it. I really liked the visuals. You got to be there, you got to experience it. The filmography was really, really good as well. I really liked that in present times things are more bluer and darker whenever to flashbacks, where things are a lot brighter, sort of signifies the way in which Hannah was sort of the light in Clay's life, and now that she's gone, and now that there's more topics of death and unhappiness, the tones are a lot more bluer. I really do like that a lot in the show. So all in all, like I said, I really enjoyed the show for the basic concepts of it. Not even the concepts, not even really the storyline. I do like the storyline, you know, I do like the actors, I liked the filmography, I liked the soundtrack a lot. I do think that the show was really well produced, and casting was perfect, directing was perfect. I don't agree with the triggering nature of it all, or the way that it sort of glorifies making a list and blaming a lot of people, or telling a lot of people how they played a part in a suicide. And I don't know if it was necessarily great timing for the show or bad timing for the show, but I do think it did send a pretty positive message. I don't agree with the way that they blatantly showed Hannah's suicide, and I don't like the way that they changed it to make it more triggering and or more shocking. Definitely doesn't sit right with me. And like I said before, as somebody that never really had thoughts or feelings of self-harm, that really put me in a very dark place. 13 Reasons Why is definitely one of the only shows ever that I've watched in my life that the last episode really put me in a dark place, really like broke me down, really made me feel really gross. I can remember just sitting on my couch watching that last episode, like sobbing. It put me in a really bad place, and it sort of makes my heart break thinking about what that scene could have done to somebody that maybe was in a darker place than I was at that time. So yeah, I don't really agree with it. I do think that the actors did a really good job. I do think that the show probably promoted a lot of talk on mental health and trying to put out that it's okay to ask for help. I know a lot of people don't necessarily agree with that, and I don't blame them for that, because the show is definitely very unnecessarily triggering at some points, and I do feel like a lot of times the show doesn't portray the way that it ultimately came down to Hannah just not being able to cope and to reach out to the resources that were available to her. So now, moving on to this freaking book. I listened to it on Audible, just sort of like I did my last video, Behind Her Eyes. It was literally like a 5-hour listen, I think, and I was so over it by like the first chapter that I think I listened to it on like a 4.3 speed, and even whenever I was like doing things like in the kitchen listening to it, my mom was like, how are you listening to like these basically the chipmunks reading this book? And I was just like, I was like, just can't handle the book. I'm sorry. I did not like the book one bit. Truly. Like, I don't know if it was just the writing. Like I said, I listened to it on Audible, so I don't really know how the layout would be in the book, but at least with Audible, you got to listen to Clay's voice and Hannah's voice. But what I don't like at all is the way sort of Clay's movements were almost unnecessary. Like, it would be, Hannah would be talking, it would be this feminine voice, I forget the narrator, whoever she was, she'd be talking, and then it would be like, the male's voice would be like, I took a sip of my coffee, and then it would be Hannah talking, and then it would be like, I pushed the coffee to the end of the table, and then it would be like Hannah talking, and then it would be like, I got up and put on my jacket. Like, it was just too robotic, too choppy for me. I did not like it at all. Don't know if maybe if I had my little own voice reading it to me as I read the actual page, I would like it. Did not like the book one bit. Which sort of goes back to, maybe it's one of those instances where I believe the show does it better. In the show, we got to see, like I said, the scenes of the tapes playing out. We got to feel for each of the characters. In the book, it was just Hannah saying, this is what happened, and it was Clay listening to Hannah saying what happened. We don't get that visuals. I feel like the book was really lacking in the descriptions and the dialogue. We didn't get it as strongly as we did in the TV show. And even more so in the book, I do feel like it could be made more as Hannah being a bit dramatic. And I mean that with the most respect, like, possible. Like, everybody goes through their own struggles, and it was a very horrific thing to happen to Hannah. But in the book, I just feel like it wasn't written as well as it could have been. I feel like Hannah definitely just came off as more of a bitch, sarcastic bitch in the group, and sort of more as somebody that's like, that sort of wants help, but whenever people are like, hey, let's help you, she's like, no, I don't want help like that way. That's sort of how it came off in the book, which I don't necessarily agree with. Especially in the show, I feel like Catherine Langford really pulled the embodiment of Hannah off very well, really brought a certain light to the character that the book definitely did not pull off at well. Like, I'm so sorry to say that. And I'm going to preface this with, well, all of this in conclusion to say that Jay Asher is probably way more rich than I'll ever be. She has a book that got made into a TV show. I do not. So take everything that I'm saying with a grain of salt, honestly. So yeah, that's sort of my thoughts on the book. I was not a fan, so I think it goes without saying that I preferred the TV show a lot more than I liked the book. Again, I'm sorry, like, I know in my last video I said that I liked the TV show better, but it's just another instance, and this case especially, the TV show was leaps and bounds better. Had I not been doing this video, I probably would not have finished the book. Had I not watched the TV show first, I probably would not have read the book. Like, it was just, yeah. Or I guess I meant that the other way around. Had I read the book first, I probably would not have finished it, therefore would not have watched the show. That's just that. I don't know what else to say. This is a rather short video. I do feel very passionate about my distaste for the book. So that is this video for this week. Like I said, also, when I've sort of been looking at myself the whole time, I'm not a professional YouTuber yet to look at you in your eyes, I did notice that my little knife is stabbing my cheeseburger in the head. Carl's like, what the hell? Sorry, Carl. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was rather a fun one to make. I feel like I didn't need to lay it out as much as I did in my last video because I felt so passionately about it. That being said, if you liked this video, feel free to give me a good thumbs up. Feel free to tell me in the comments what you think. If you liked the TV show or the book more, feel free to tell me why you feel the way that you do. And like I said, if you've sort of made it this far and you sort of feel like you need help or don't know where to look for help, I'm going to put a few resources in the links below, as I know that a lot of people don't have readily access to, whether it's a good friend group, parents, counselors, or therapists. So I'm definitely going to leave some resources and hotlines down for you below. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I got a little bit heated talking about my distaste for the book. But that is it for this video, you guys. I'm so excited to be talking to you guys. If you enjoyed it, feel free to tell me. I have all my socials down there as well. And I'll see you when I see you. Bye, friends.